are looking more at power functions, which we started before we took our finals and started studying for our finals. This is all about function notation, like power functions and function operations. Okay, where it always is. So we're going to do a couple things where I give you a function, and you're going to have to add or subtract them, multiply or divide them. There's just a couple different things where you're going to have to do that. So we do not have to do every single problem on here, but if you guys are confused, please ask for another one. Okay? So if we look, we got to read the whole thing. A lot of you guys do not I know I don't, like reading the directions, but that messes me up on tests and quizzes. Okay? So we're going to let f of x equals 2 minus x and g of x equals 3x. And then we're going to do the operation and state the domain. Does anybody remember what the domain is?
X values.
It's the x values. Okay, so it's the possible x values. So, if we're dividing by something, we can't have 0 on the bottom. That's not allowed. That kind of a thing. Okay, so f of x plus gx. So f of x is 2 minus x, and we're going to add 3x to it. Now we're just going to simplify this. Negative x plus 3x is 2x. We just bring down that 2. That's my answer. Is there anything x can't be? I could stick any number in there, right? Positive, negative, whatever. So this is all real numbers. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you could stop being on your phones right now so that I do not have to require you to put your phones up here, that would be great. You should be writing this down currently. Okay? This is me. This is my domain. This is a shortcut way of writing your domain is all real numbers. Instead of writing out the words all real numbers, you just make an R with a double line. It's just a math shortcut.
What about the Rolls-Royce sign?
Yeah. Okay. F of x minus g of x. So it's the same thing. We're going to go 2 minus x, except we're going to go minus 3x. So this is just going to change it slightly. We're going to get 2 minus 4x. Okay, and again, my domain is all real numbers. And again, I'm getting these things from right here. That's f of x, that's g of x. Okay, and then I've got my domain. Again, that's all real numbers. It's just a shortcut. Okay. G of x plus g of x, so that's just 3x plus 3x. You guys feel okay with that? Gives us 6x, and my domain is all real numbers, again.
Oh, you can put any number in?
Yeah, that's what that means. You could put any number in for x. I'm getting what g of x is just from up here in the directions. Okay, D. G of x is 3x. Now you have to be careful with this. This is minus 2 minus x. So that negative sign has to be distributed. So we get 3x minus 2 plus x, because a negative and a negative makes a positive. So 3x plus x is 4x. Minus 2 is my answer, and my domain is still all real numbers. Okay. Any questions about A, B, C, or D? You guys feel pretty comfortable with those? You've got problems just like this for your homework. Okay. Number 2 is about multiplying and dividing. So we're going to do the same thing, but multiplying or dividing. Again, you got to look at the directions. That's where I get those functions from. So we're going to go f times g. So that's going to be 5x to the third times x minus 1. So we're just going to distribute it. I put the parentheses there just so, because I feel like that's easier for you guys to see that you distribute. So 5x to the third times x is 5x to the fourth. 5x to the third minus 1 is negative 5x to the third. Remember, my exponents are not the same, so I can't put them together. But again, my domain is going to be all real numbers. There's nothing I can't put in for x. I can put in anything. Okay. Now we're going to divide. F is 5x to the third over x minus 1. There's nothing I can do to simplify that, because there's no x for that 1, so I can't cancel anything out. Okay? But what's the domain for this one? This is the one where we get it tricky. I cannot have 0 on the bottom, correct? So what would I put in for x that would make that 0 on the bottom? 1. So x cannot be 1 is my domain. Okay, let's turn it over. Oh, need another second? We'll turn it over. How are we doing? Am I going too fast? You guys feel okay? Okay. All right, let's look at C. So I'm going to go 3x to the third over x to the 1/2. Now remember, if we have exponents, there's nothing in front, there's nothing being added or subtracted to this, so I can just subtract these. What's 3 minus 1/2? Right? It's like 3 over 2. We have to put a 2 on the bottom, so we have to times the 3 by 6. 1/2, 6 minus 1 is 5 over 2. Okay, or if you do 3 minus 1/2, that's 2 and 1/2, right? 5 over 1/2 is 2 goes into 5 2 times with 1/2 left over. It's the same thing. Okay? So that's my answer. But my domain is still, because I set this up as a problem, my domain still x cannot be 0. Because then this whole part wouldn't work. Okay, why don't you guys try D? Try plugging in D. What do you get? Is it because of those exponents? Remember, if you're multiplying two things, you add the exponents together. So should we do it? You want to try it? Okay, because how did I get this 6 minus 1 right here? Okay, so I needed to go 3 minus 1/2. In order to subtract fractions, I make the bottoms the same. So if I times this by 2, I have to times this by 2. So that becomes 6 over 2 minus 1/2. And then 6 minus 1 is 5. Better? Okay. I feel like when we study for that compass test, we need to focus some time on fractions, because I feel like that's where we get messed up. All right, f times g. F is 3x to the third times g, which is x to the 1/2. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 plus 1/2, so that's 6 over 2 plus 1/2 becomes 7/2. And we're done. And the domain is going to be all real for these. Can be anything. 6 plus 1 is 7. Okay, so if I'm going to go 3 plus 1/2, right? I need the bottoms to be the same. This is like 3 over 1, right? So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 2 so that the bottoms match. So that's how I get 6 over 2 plus 1/2, giving me 7 over 2. Yeah. Okay, we've just got one more thing. So we've talked about adding and subtracting, and now we've talked about multiplying and dividing, listing the domain for all of them. Now we're going to talk about if we're going to put them together. So what this means, if we have f of g of x, that means that wherever we see an x, an f of x, we have to put this whole function. So we've got 3, and then we've got minus 2. And see where that x is? I'm going to replace it with x squared. Okay? So this is just 3x squared minus 2. My domain is all real. Okay, so let's look for B. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write down g of x, but instead of putting an x, I'm going to put parentheses. Okay, so see how g of x is x squared? I'm just going to put parentheses squared. All right? Now it says put f of x. That's 3x minus 2. Okay? And you guys remember how to do this? I like to build the box. Where I go 3x minus 2, 3x minus 2. So this is 9x squared minus 6x minus 6x. Calm down. It's 4. So that's 9x squared minus 12x plus 4. And so the domain is all real again. Yeah, you can FOIL it. 3x minus 2 times 3x minus 2. So f, let's FOIL. First, outside, inside, last.
Yeah, let's do FOIL.
Can do either way. First, outside, inside, last. It just depends which way you learned it. My problem with FOIL is some people get mixed, like they don't do all of them. Okay, so for C, we're going to go 3 parentheses minus 2, and then we're going to put f of x back in there, which is 3x minus 2. Then we just distribute. And we get 9x minus 6 minus 2. We combine like terms. 9x minus 8 is my answer. Domain for this one is also all real. How we doing? Want to try D? Okay, why don't you guys try this on your own? And then we'll go over. Remember, you start with parentheses. And then plug it in. Okay, so this is squared, and then this is x squared, so it should be x to the 4th should be your answer. Domain is all real. Okay, I want to do at least one problem from your homework that we didn't do on here. So I want to do these are really easy, but I didn't explain it. No, the ones that I didn't explain, these are not easy. The ones that I didn't explain on your homework are, but I want to explain it real quick. Okay. No. All right. So we're right here. Number 1 says f of negative 3. Which one of these says f? This one right here, right? So just instead of an x, we're going to put a negative 3. That's it. So 3 times negative 3 minus 4. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Negative 9 minus 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Yes.
That's what these first 8 are. Real simple.
First 8.
9 is a little bit, then these last ones are a little bit harder. Okay. All right. Okay. So I want you to try all this. There are 17, but they shouldn't be take too long. Okay. So I'm going to leave this one up here, but I am going to stop recording. If you have questions, please let me know. You've got lots of time in class to work on it.